Hey, welcome back. This is Carlos Cavallo from datingadviceguru.com with, of course, those secrets to unlock his heart that you want to learn so badly. Well, I'm going to teach you one today that is going to be a little bit different than what you might expect. We're going to talk about how to meet a great guy. And in fact, we're going to talk about several ways, at least 3 ways, to meet a great guy. And one of them is maybe not what you expected. But let's talk about it. First of all, don't spin a roulette wheel. This is one of the tactics that most people use, even men use this when they date, and that is that they are more likely to put things in the hand of fate and probability than they will to take it into their own hands and make it happen. And for some reason, we have no problem with that in almost any area of our lives. You plan going to college, or you plan to take a cooking class, or you plan to improve any particular skill. But when it comes to dating and love and relationships, we feel like, well, we shouldn't do that. There's something wrong with taking that into your own hands. You have to leave that to fate in some way. Well, I assure you that nothing could be further from the truth. It's one of the worst ways to handle your love relationship is to let probability decide what happens to you. Now, I know there's a certain amount of romanticism that is just, I guess, embedded in the topic of relationships and romance, but you've got to be willing to take things under your own control. So what I mean by don't spin a roulette wheel is don't just go willy-nilly anywhere. Go to where he is. When I say he, I mean the kind of guy that you're interested in, the kind of guy you want, the kind of guy you're looking to create a relationship with. If you're not already in one right now, or you have one and it's not what you want it to be, and you know there's something else out there, well, go where that guy is. First thing is, of course, make the list. You know what I mean by the list, right? Of course you do. The list is that list of qualities that you want in this guy, because if you don't know what you're looking for, how are you going to know when you get it, right? It's one of those things that we know we should do, and instinctively we're told this all the time by other dating gurus, but does anybody ever do it? No, almost never do you do it. And what we do is we say, oh, I've made that list, but you keep it in the back of your head. You've never actually written it down on paper. And you need to write it on paper because you need to see the words. You need to see the specific criteria for what it is you really want in a relationship, because until you define that, it's very unlikely that you're going to get it. And what's going to happen is you'll get into a relationship and then what I call reverse engineer it. In other words, you make the relationship you're in the guy that you want, not the other way around. Your emotions take over, and we mistake chemistry for compatibility. And that's not the way you want to handle your love relationship. So I'm going to give you a little exercise here. And this exercise is actually one of the best ways I've found to get women to understand the kind of guy that they're looking for. It's called market research, all right? And it's called the bookstore exercise. And it's very simple. Go to your local bookstore, typically your larger bookstore, like, I don't even know which ones are available anymore. I think Barnes & Noble is probably one of the few big chain bookstores that is still around. So go to that bookstore, and I want you to go to the magazine rack. That's right. I'm not telling you to go wander the aisles and hope that Mr. or Prince Charming is going to find you in the aisles. As a matter of fact, I've got a few words to say about that in a minute along the lines of probability. But right now, I want you to go to the magazine section. Now, what I would like you to do is, of course, find the magazines that correspond to the guy that you want, that you're interested in. Like, let's say you want a guy that's very good at crafting or handiwork in some way. Maybe he's a woodworker. You know, maybe that's one of the ideas you had was, oh, this guy probably does a lot of work with his hands. He likes to work in his own wood shop of sorts. He likes to make things out of wood. It could be one of the criteria you have. It doesn't have to necessarily be wood, but he's got to be good with his hands, right? Of course, they always got to be good with their hands. But this guy's got to be doing something craftsy, or maybe you like him working on cars. Whatever the case may be, find the magazine that corresponds to that particular interest. If you want him to be a kind of guy that likes working on cars, get the latest auto whatever, or the ones that tell you about how to fix and how to restore cars or how to rebuild an engine. And then what I want you to do is look through that magazine and look at the other advertisements in that magazine, because they've done all the research already. They know what this kind of guy is interested in. They know what he looks for. They know what he buys. They know the places he shops, where he eats, where he drinks, everything like that. And you're going to find out so much more about his demographic just by reading that one magazine than you probably ever would just going out there and going to a singles bar, which is another topic to talk about, which is singles bars. What kind of guys are at a singles bar? Well, this is the interesting thing, is we go to a singles bar and we hope to meet somebody. But you know what? Everybody, every cross-section of every type of person probably goes to a singles bar. There's no specific one kind of person other than the kind of person who just happens to be in that singles bar at that moment. You never know, right? You just don't know. There's no way of really filtering or screening based on the kind of guy that shows up at a singles bar. So you're really into a giant, again, we're back at the roulette wheel. You're hoping the probability is going to throw this guy in your lap. And in reality, what's going to happen is you're going to have chemistry take the front seat and compatibility the back seat. So you're going to find some guy that you've got the chemistry with, which is good, but then you're going to reverse engineer that this guy is the one for you based on the fact that you've got chemistry and you don't want to lose this relationship. And that's really, as they say, bass-ackwards. You want to know what you're looking for up front and go to get that guy there. Now, there are some legitimate places to go to meet guys. One is conventions. Go to conventions that correspond to this guy's interests. Let's say you want a musician. You want to meet a musician and you want to date a musician. Great, fine. Where would you go for that? You go to NAMM. NAMM is NAMM. It's the national, I can't remember what the acronym is, but it's for musicians. It has all sorts of musical instruments, everything from guitars to keyboards to drums, whatever. It's the big expo that happens every year. Guess what? You go there, you're going to meet guys galore that are into music, okay? Simple, very simple. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be tabletop gaming. You can go to the gaming conventions. If you want a guy that's a video game geek, go to E3, the electronic exhibition that happens every year. There's always a convention, a big convention, and guess what? You're going to meet a ton of guys. Comic-Con, I don't care what it is. You go there, you're going to meet the kind of guy that does that. I actually saw an article in a magazine, a very well-known magazine, that said, actually it was online, that said that you need to go to Alaska if you wanted to meet a guy. It is true, you will meet a guy, but you're going to meet somebody that's probably a little rougher around the edges maybe than you want, because this is going to be a wilderness guy for the most part, more than likely, right? Not very many investment bankers that are stocked up in Alaska. So you got to think about the demographic. There's nothing wrong with these guys, but really, Alaska? I mean, come on. This is the kind of garbage advice that some of these columns will give you, and they'll actually manage to pass it off and make it sound perfectly plausible why they told you this. But Alaska, come on. Or here's another one of those ones that doesn't make any sense. They tell you to go out and go running, and you'll just eventually run into him. It'll happen at the street corner, when you're jogging and getting ready to cross the street, because, of course, you're just going to run into a runner at every street corner. Come on, really? Running into him. Another case of, let's just hope this guy runs into your life. Let's just roll the dice yet another day, and if it doesn't happen this way, then it wasn't meant to be. No. The way to do it is to hang out in the environment of the kind of guy that you want to meet. Hang out in that environment. Go to that place. Go to the coffee shops if you're a big coffee drinker. Go to you can go to those restaurants if you like. But you know what? Think again about how you're going about meeting guys, okay? If you want to meet a great guy, you can't make it random. You have to apply purpose to your search. And this is something that very few women I found really want to do. For guys, it's not so hard because we understand that we have to initiate, we have to kind of make things happen on a certain level. A lot of women do really run around believing that these guys are just going to fall into their lap out of the sky, or that they should in some way. And I know that you may not believe that or may not think that way, but there's a part of you that wishes that to be true. And the reason being that we all have our romantic notions of how a relationship gets started. You want to have that cool love story, right? Well, you don't want to put too much up to randomness. And the reality is that if I were to ask you, what you're doing or what it is you're up to meet guys, it's all going to seem, pretty rational up front, but when you look at it at the deeper level, is it purposeful? Is it random or is it purposeful? Now, the one thing you got to understand is if you want to purposefully meet a guy, one of the ways you should be using to meet a guy, one of the best ways for how to meet a guy, is online. Online dating. There's a lot of people that are jaded on this concept, but it is part of your overall dating process. You've got to be online dating. It's the only way to intelligently put yourself in a position to meet as many guys as possible. And it's interesting because I read the comments a lot online from people who are, there's the people I believe that write comments, and there's the people who don't. I think the people that don't write comments are typically out there doing and thinking some of the things that they should be doing. And then the commenters are the ones that just want to like shoot things down and be all negative and just have some place to, I don't know, throw out their comments. Now, if you're a commenter, I'm not meaning this to be insulting, but if you look at some of the things that are commented on certain videos and on certain websites, it can get a little tiring. So what is it you want? You know, what are you looking for? Online dating is the perfect way to locate that person and at least get yourself out there dating. Now, again, many women say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be online dating. It's just not for me. It's not my thing. It's whatever. But again, these are also the same women, unfortunately, that I try and coach. And I say, look, unless you're dating actively now, or you have several guys that you've been seeing or in the prospect of seeing, and if you wanted me to coach you, I would coach you if you had a few guys on the line. But if you're not dating anybody, what exactly would we talk about? How every other thing that you shot down so far isn't going to work for you? You have to be willing to take that deliberate step. Now, there is a part of you that is very justified in wanting it to be somewhat, I don't want to say probability driven, but a little more chance than maybe purposeful. And that is the fact that you want the situation to be such that the guy is going to show interest in you and he will pick you out of a group of women, let's just say. The only woman at the bar that this guy approaches is you, and you kick off this relationship. That would make you feel special. And we all want that special feeling, the feeling of being chosen, one from many. But it doesn't often happen in reality. And we have to kind of let go of those childish and somewhat fantastic desires and go for what really works. You've got to leverage purpose instead of randomness. And I hope the message is coming through loud and clear. You just got to step out of your comfort zone. Try online dating. Do the things that will get you out there meeting guys as soon as humanly possible. Don't wait for him to fall into your lap, because he may never do that. Get on the path to doing it. And one of the best ways you can do it is to understand how to read a guy's signals, because men are probably there are men in your life right now that you don't even know are either interested or would talk to you or would introduce themselves if you knew it. So you got to know how to read his signals, not only before he meets you, but after you meet him. How are you going to understand what he's thinking? How are you going to understand what he wants? How are you going to know if he really wants you? You got to be able to read his signals. If you want to learn more about that, go on over to datingadviceguru.com/read his signals. That's datingadviceguru.com/read his signals. All one word. Read his signals. Learn what he's thinking. Know a man from the inside out, and we will no longer be mysteries to you anymore. And guess what? When that happens, you're going to get the man you really want. I'll be talking again soon. This is Carlos Cavallo with another inspiring message on how to meet a great guy. I'll be talking again soon.